When I sat down to write No Matter What, I knew I had to tell parts of me that I had never shared before, and I wasn't necessarily comfortable sharing. And I have to tell you, sitting here with you right now, knowing that this book is in every bookstore, I'm still not comfortable totally with what I know people are going to know about me when they read the book. But I knew that in order to really talk about shining your light, I had to share what covered my light. I had to share that. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
That it's easy to sit and talk about, oh, the light feels so good, and it's so bright, and ooh, it's warm. That's easy. But what's necessary is what happens when I have a breakdown. What happens when the relationship doesn't go the way we thought it would go? What happens when I gain 60 pounds and I didn't plan to do that?
And still look beautiful.
Right. And yet, it's someone lost 60 pounds and I found it. And beauty and all, I'd love to return it to its rightful owner, honey. Believe you me.
It's beautiful, but it don't belong here.
Exactly. You know, people used to say, oh, you carry your weight well. I say, great, why don't you carry it for a little while?
Well, what would happen to the, I recognize your weight, you recognize my weight, I can't carry yours, whatever happened?
Right, no, carry this, honey. You know, and so it was, how do I, with this jacket that I wore for years called 60 pounds, because it was a jacket. It wasn't who I was, it was my jacket. But how with this jacket do I show my light? How do I still get back to my light? How do I not allow this weight to define me? You know, there over 85% of people who are obese really are manically depressed. And yet we smile all the time. But how do I free myself from this thing? How do I free myself from the guilt of an old decision? How do I cut the shackles of anger at someone or something that happened to me 20 years ago? How do I be so in the now that I'm not making my next pay from my ex? How do I do that?
Wow.
You know what I mean? And who will have that raw, candid conversation with me, and not from a place of they're already there, but show me when you were in this place that I'm in now. Right. Show me how you got out. That's when I wrote No Matter What, I knew I had to. I could not get around telling that story. And I have to tell you, some chapters took a week to write, but they took 3 months to decide to give you that part of me. You know what I mean? To me, that's the juice of the
Can I read this right now?
Yeah, I know. Yes, you can, as a matter of fact. You know, I mean, so I love the work that I've done, and I love the accolades, and I love the people who I've been introduced to because of the work. But I love the work and the opportunity that I get to invite the world to do to help rediscover or discover for the first time or more discover their light because of what I just did in this piece. Like, I recognize why I had to go through the journey, because I'm being used by what I call God, not to impose my belief system on anyone, but I call him God, to see now how God is using me to tell this story out loud so we can be comfortable with our journey and say, oh, I am enough. As a matter of fact, I'm perfect for my role right now in the world. And it's in my perfect imperfection that I get to help imperfected people. Like, imperfection serves imperfection.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And it's in the imperfection that I get to be of service. It's in the fall downs that I get to say, oh, let's all see how we get up. If I never fell down, how could I talk about getting up? And if I wasn't willing to tell you about my fall down, I don't have the right to talk about getting up. So I love it anyway.
I'm relating. I used to sing opera for years. And so I studied with an opera teacher who recognized my talent, but she couldn't teach me. And she was famous. She was at the Met and yada yada, but she couldn't teach me. And then I found a teacher who had an awful voice. But to get to where his voice is now, he had to work. Yeah. And so the teacher who was famous was born with a natural, beautiful voice. She didn't know how to get that. So she didn't help.
She didn't have to develop the muscle.
Exactly. Yes. So she could not serve me. Yes. But the other teacher, he knew how to break the mud. Yes. And so together we
got it. You got it. You got it. You can only exercise a muscle that you've developed.
Right.
And in this book, I talk about 9 bounce back muscles. I talk about your understanding muscle, being willing to be with people and not try to supersize them. Like, don't supersize me, I won't supersize you, which means love me for who I am today.
Let's be here.
Sure, I'd love to be tidier around the house. Sure, I'd love
Is that in the book?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, I'd love, but this is who I am. Yeah. And so we talk about how can you develop your understanding muscle? How can you develop your faith in myself muscle? Which means, can you be your first cheerleader on everything? Can you be the first example to me of how I'm supposed to love you? See, most of us walk around. Yeah, isn't
that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
It's,
See,
it's in the book.
It's in the book.
No matter what, you need to get this book.
Yes. And so most of us walk around expecting others to show us how to love ourselves, expecting others to validate our beauty, which is why we say, do you like this? Do you like me? We want approval. Well, what if, in a non-grandizing way, in a non-braggadocious way, but what if I love myself and I complete me, and I just have you in my space to compliment me, not complete me? How would we walk around differently if we complete ourselves and then we compliment each other versus looking for you to complete me? That's a huge responsibility on you. I mean, oh my God. You know, we go into these relationships and we have all of these holes in us. We have doubt, fear, shame, blame, guilt. And then I say, oh, I'm so glad you're in my life. Could you fill my holes for me?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like a sifter. You're like a sifter. You know, what if I did the work to build my own muscles, to plug my own holes? And then I came to you and said, let's be in relay. Friendship, siblings, it's not just romantic.
Absolutely.
It's every relay.
Yeah, I can't believe we're having this conversation. I mean, it's like I've known you all my life, and like we've had this conversation before, and now we just get to share it. But I've always said there's no magic when people say, "Have you met my other half?" It's like 1 + 1 = 1. I mean, half plus half equals 1. There's no magic in that. Right. But 1 + 1 = 1. Yes. There's the magic.
Yes. Yes.
And so we got to be one. Whole. So when you bring a whole and a whole together and you get one whole, that's exciting. But you say, I'm a half and you're a half.
Right.
So?
Right. You're my complement, not my other half.
Yeah.
You're my complement. And yet, when we recognize that it's our responsibility to build our bounce back muscles, and that you only build a bounce back muscle, you only build a muscle in your character by going through situations like your teacher who had to climb through something to get to where he was. He might have been the best teacher, but he had the best built muscle. Do you know?
Exactly.
And so you look at that and you look at, how do I build my forgiveness muscle? Can you imagine how we would be as a culture, as humanity, as a human race, if we all walked around with absolutely toned forgiveness muscles, and we're not holding on to that thing that happened to us when we were 7, or that thing that happened to us when we were 5, or that ex relationship, that we've become complete with that when we recognize that forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person being pardoned for their behavior or being made right. It's not about that. Forgiveness is about looking at the situation and saying, thank you, situation, thank you, person, for giving me the opportunity to build my character. Because of you, I am more resilient. Wow. Because of you, I am more loving. Because of you, I'm going to be a great man or a great woman. So thank you, person, situation, for giving me the opportunity to be me. Isn't that sweet?
That is clever.
Chapter
is that
7.
in here? Chapter 7, no matter what. Lisa Nichols, you are amazing. I mean, I knew you were amazing. I mean, you make people cry. You make people stand up and cheer. You make people want to be in the light that you shine. And in so doing, you help them recognize the light inside of them. So I thank you not only for giving me this opportunity.
For giving me. Isn't that cool?
It's great. Cool? It's chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
For giving me this opportunity to feel me in this place with you.
Isn't that sweet?
And for us getting to share this with everybody. I mean, this is
That's sweet. See, you didn't see anything in the secret, honey. This is me unleashed.
This is Lisa Unleashed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on Life Changes with Filippo. Lisa Nichols, everybody.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're going to do this again and again and again.
How about that? How about that? How about that?
I want to make sure it's clear first.
Did you get it? That thing was in the way.
Huh?
Wasn't that in the way?
No, it's part of it.
Oh, okay. John?
Ah.
Oh, here. Oh, okay. Oh.
Here, I hold the mic. I like I'm interviewing you. You hold the button.
Chapter 7.